with the market shifting, I got some of my favorite people on to interview you and ask you questions about the market, marketing, buyers and sellers, and really to get your expert advice. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. And were you guys debating my age?
Yes.
Yes. The first time I saw it, I remember being shocked and not believing it, but then I couldn't remember what it was.
We have a very special guest. We are going to interview today Chris Heller, the Chief Real Estate Officer of Ojo Labs, a real estate industry leader that has one of the most impressive real estate backgrounds, being in the business since 1989 as Rookie of the Year. And we actually just did the math, Chris, and we were like, okay, he's been in the business 3 decades, but we're like, oh, it's 3+ now. So about 34 years, are we right?
Yes, you are. Yeah, I've had the team for 33 years. And so, yeah, about 34 total.
I love it. Okay, good. So before we go along, Chris, I wanted to ask you, first of all, how is your new book, Dominant Thoughts, working out, and tell us a little bit about where you're at with that.
It's gone great. It has exceeded my expectations. One of the things, I think I had hoped for this in the back of my mind that has actually come to fruition, is that a lot of real estate teams have and continue to buy the book for their teams, and a lot of them have asked me to speak to their teams after they've had their teams read the book. It's a short read. It's a business parable. It's a story with the lessons I've learned, not real estate specific, but I wrote it in mind with, like, I would want my real estate team to know these lessons and to operate this way. And it's turned out that a lot of other real estate teams and brokerages feel the same way.
I absolutely love it. So if you guys have not gone out, go out and get the book, Dominant Thoughts, and make sure you get the Audible too. Super quick read, really great book and great principles. So Chris has sold over 100 homes every year for the past, 30 years, Chris? You said you've had your team for over 30 years?
Yeah, probably 29. I think it took me 4 years to get to 100.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and his team is in Encinitas, California. Chris is also the former CEO of Keller Williams International, who had over 174,000 agents. He is an investor in several different companies, and Ojo Labs is an artificial intelligence company. So today we want to ask some questions about how to help buyers and sellers and how to help agents in this market. So my first question is this, Chris. I am seeing a lot of activity with sellers that have waited the market out because the rates are a little higher. But in the last couple of weeks, I've seen a lot of sellers putting their homes on the market. I've seen a lot of buyers buying. But for the people that are on the fence right now, that are waiting for the interest rates to go down, what is your best? How would you consult a buyer or a seller that is thinking that they should wait when they actually need to sell?
Yeah, so I've always told consumers that obviously interest rates are important, but they should never be the deciding factor. If you are renting a home or you want to own a home, the only thing that matters is, can you afford it and can you qualify? Interest rates change all the time. And, heck, if you can afford a home now and you can buy it at a 6% interest rate or 6.5% or wherever they might be, and 2 years from now, rates are at 4%, you're going to refinance the home. You're going to be living in the home that you love and now paying even less to live there. That's a win-win situation. For sellers, they equate what's going on with interest rates with demand, right? And they think, okay, rates are high, so no one's buying. Well, it's incumbent upon us as agents to educate them and just show them how many homes are still selling. And then we have to always loop into the conversation their motivation. Like, why are they selling? If they're selling because they want to be, closer to their grandkids, or they have a job starting in July, or whatever it might be, you want to talk about that. And like, if we believe the market is going to soften up, then we want to educate them on that. Say, look, you're better off selling now than waiting till then, because it could mean 10, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 more in your pocket. And the sooner you get to, your family, the more you're going to enjoy those grandkids. And do you really want to, not enjoy them because you're worried about interest rates or demands? Your house is saleable. We can sell your home. Let's get it on the market.
I love that. So my next question is from Chris Nolan. Chris Nolan is in Florida and Maryland and has a team. Chris, take it away.
Hey, Chris, appreciate you giving us some time today. Running a team for 3 decades, I'm curious. I have a team I run in 2 different states, large geographical area. How have you managed to keep your team engaged, selling, and motivated through the years?
So obviously, the team has evolved, and there's different team members and new team members. I'm in a little bit of a unique situation because in 2010, I stopped running the team and stepped out of the business. So since 2010, I've worn other hats, right? I've led other companies and building other companies. So that means that I've had to sort of take things to even another level. I've had to have the right systems, the right processes, and the right people. But when it comes to people being or keeping motivated, it's the same thing with buyers and sellers. People are either motivated or they're not. And I do not want to hire or have anyone on my team who's not highly motivated. That's why the number one characteristic I look for in someone who's going to join the team is desire. Do they have a burning desire or a strong desire? We can teach them what to say and what to do, but you can't teach desire. And if they aren't motivated, you can't create motivation. We can create urgency. We can create urgency with a buyer, create urgency with a seller, but we can't create motivation. So if you have the right people, you don't have to worry about motivation. Now, and this may be more in line with what you're asking, Chris, people are always looking to be in a place where they have opportunities to grow, opportunities to learn, opportunities to earn. And you have to have an environment where that exists. And if you don't, you'll have a revolving door. People will leave. So having a team that can create opportunities for people so that they don't have to leave to get their needs met or their goals met becomes a really key component to sustainability and to be able to grow.
Okay. I like it. That's awesome. Thank you.
Sure.
I love that. Desire and motivation. So the next question comes from Brittany Wynn from Colorado Springs. Chris, you actually sent her a referral.
I did. Hey, Brittany.
Hi, Chris. Nice to talk to you again. So my question is about farming. It's something that I've been thinking about doing for a while. We've been really successful with our social media. Do you still believe in farming and print media?
I do. Now, because I can't do anything other than tell the truth, my team currently isn't doing any farming, and I think it's a mistake. So I believe it if it's done right and that you pick the right areas. Then whether you're spending your time on social media or farming or proactive, prospecting, going after people have already made the decision to buy, to sell like expireds or FSBOs or probates. It's the same goal. The same goal is to get mind share so that when someone is ready, you are the obvious choice of someone that they're going to talk to. And if you do it effectively and pick the right areas, I think it's a great way to have a consistent source of business. So yes, I would add it, and I would leverage what you're doing on social media and every other means of communicating to make that as effective as possible.
Chris, I'd like to dive a little deeper. Brittany, do you have anything as it relates to diving deeper to that?
So I know a lot of agents do, like the big events. I know I've read some things that I think it was possibly like your team's out who have done community events and such. Do you recommend doing those type of things as with the print marketing?
Yeah, but I don't think you need, I think you can evolve into that. And I think you need to earn the right to not necessarily to do that, but to expect that people will participate in it. So, um, it's funny. I just came from another. So we do what we call a master class each month. We just had Glenda Baker on, who, when you mentioned social media, made me think of her. And she was talking about when you're farming an area, and I believe this wholeheartedly, not just within farming, but in everything, we have to know more about the area, about the property than the consumers. And so picking an area that you are going to really truly understand becomes a key component. And then on social media, the posts you're making talking about the specifics of those areas, things that a consumer can't find on a portal or can't Google, but things that about a specific house that's sold or that's for sale, or that why people live there, or the real attraction to the neighborhood. That's content that delivers value. And delivering value in whether it's print media, email marketing, social posts, whatever it is, that is the absolute key, is delivering things of value. And if you do that, then you become something valuable to the buyers and sellers.
Okay, well, thank you.
I love that. Chris, when somebody is actually choosing a farming area, obviously you said you have to choose wisely. What would be like the top 2 things you look for when selecting an area to farm and to farm long term?
So I think it's important to have an area that you like, and because that's important. You have to have an affinity for the neighborhood or the area. If you don't, it's going to show up. And then an area that geographically that isn't an hour away, right? It should be convenient to you. And then an area that has good turnover, right? So there are some neighborhoods that are like destination neighborhoods where the only time people leave is when they die. But being having an area or a neighborhood where there's people moving up and moving down, where there's all the life events are happening and cause people to sell homes because of those life events.
Thank you so much. We have the amazing Ashley for question number 4.
Awesome. Hi, Chris. I know we talk all the time, but I don't get to see your face very often.
I know. And you're going to, and I can't believe you have a question that you don't already know the answer to. But,
me neither. She's like a smart woman.
What about my answer? I want to know what your answer is, and especially because of some things lately. So I know I've been hearing a lot about ChatGPT and how people are going to use that in real estate. And so my question is, what do you think the best app or technology piece is that most agents don't know about or are underutilizing? Because I think that's what most entrepreneurs fall into, is you don't know what you don't know. And so is there something out there that that we all should know?
Well, all right. So you just named one of them. That's a phenomenal platform that I think you could leverage in a lot of different ways, from creating content to for farming and writing descriptions about areas and neighborhoods and asking and answering questions. So there's one that I actually learned of today that I don't know enough about to probably talk about, but what I heard was super interesting, and I will be checking it out this weekend. And it's a Chrome add-on called Crystal Knows that helps you on LinkedIn get additional information about people. And things like that can be super interesting. There's a lot of companies out there. There's a company I leverage called Audience, and Audience is a robotic handwritten note card, but they do a lot of other things, right? They if I give them my sphere or a farm, they'll be able to give me the names of all the people that own those properties, even if that property is held in a trust or held in an LLC. They'll be able to say, hey, Ashley Galladay owns this home. Wow. So when I'm doing my marketing, I'm not sending it to Happy Acres LLC. I'm sending it to an individual. And especially when it comes to note cards, the handwritten note cards, you want that, you're doing that to establish that personal touch. And there's nothing less personal than addressing something to a trust or an LLC. Or being able to take all the people in my, in my sphere or in my farm and connect me to all their LinkedIn profiles. So now that I can connect with them that way also. So there's a lot of companies that do things that we aren't even aware of, that we can leverage to be more effective in what we do. But those are a couple that come to mind. And, it's, on one hand, we want to use and leverage technology as much as possible. At the same time, we don't want that to become a crutch or an excuse for not doing the activities we need to do day in and day out to keep doing and building business.
Well, it still needs to have the personal touch, because it's all about the relationship. But if you find ways to use the technology to get to them where they're at, because that's like, to me, email is dead. I used my personal email for the first time. Like, I looked at my personal email for the first time in like 6 months today, because somebody actually sent me an attachment. I was like, oh, I have to go get that. But if you're just emailing and that's the only way you're communicating to try and get business, then you're not getting business, because only 17% of emails are read. But if you're texting, 99% of text messages are read. So that's where you have to find the technology to still get personal with them.
Yep. Totally agree.
Awesome. Well, I love those. I'm excited to check out the LinkedIn thing. That's cool.
So it's audience. What else? What are the?
The two that I mentioned is audience.co and Crystal Knows at KNOWS.
ChatGPT is like this ridiculously robust AI that they've taken this the entire English language, and not just from like dictionary but this corpus of language and every language. And you can ask it a question like, hey, what's the current market stats of Northeast Meadows in Waxahachie, Texas? That's my subdivision. And it will give you a response. And you can say, I want it written in a essay format. I want it written in an 8th grade level format. I want it written like, it will give you a very precise, like one guy had it write a novel for him in 5 minutes. It had a very high level, written book basically. And so it's crazy. Like I'm very interested to see how it's going to change the landscape for a lot of things.
So basically you're telling me that my goal to go back and take a writing class, don't have to do it.
Yeah, no, not necessary anymore.
I love it. Okay, good. Thank you, Ashley. The next question is from the tenacious Mary Tan Addington in California, Simi Valley, and she also serves Arizona.
So, Chris, we're obviously going through a shift, right? And for many of us, especially myself, this is my first shift. So what would you say are, your top 2 or 3 things that you would recommend agents do now, right? So that on the other side of the shift, we're coming up on top.
Well, I wouldn't wait for the other side of the shift. I'd come up.
Well, correct. We do now.
Yeah. So there's only a few things that change in a shift. One is our how we react to it and our mindset. The second is the conversations we have with buyers and sellers. And the third is the expectations that we set with buyers and sellers. Those are the only things that change. People keep buying homes, keep people selling homes. Yeah, prices go up, prices go down, interest rates go up, interest rates go down. But really, the only things that change from an agent's perspective is our mindset, how we react to it, the conversations we have, and the level of expectations that we set and the type of expectations. I'll give you an example of each. So to start with expectations. A year ago, if I was talking to a seller, the expectations would be setting is that just be prepared. Your house is going to sell for more than we're going to list it for. And there's going to be a large number of people that want to buy it. And our job is to find the best buyer and the best offer, and then get you under contract and close so you can go do what you want to do. And it's going to happen very quickly. We're going to put it on the market today, and we're going to review offers on Tuesday. And by this time next week, you'll be under contract. Today, the expectations we're setting with the seller couldn't be more different. You know, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, if your house isn't priced at a price that causes it to sell, it won't sell, no matter how nice it is, no matter where it is, no matter what it is. So the most important thing we have to do is determine where that price point is that will cause your home to sell. Same with buyers, right? Different expectations. So we have to be really good at setting proper expectations. The reason for that is the only way you can exceed someone's expectations is if you set the expectations, or if you know what they are. And the only way to truly know what they are is if you're the one setting them. So the other point I made was the conversations we have. We have to be much better today than we were a year ago at educating buyers and sellers as to what's happening in the market. And as to, for using buyers as an example, to understanding why it still makes sense to own a home versus what they're doing, or what happens to prices or interest rates in the next year if they plan on living there for 7 or 10 years is completely irrelevant. So we have to get good at having those conversations and educating them. We have to get really good at having conversations with sellers and educating them as to the difference between the market a year ago or 3 months ago or 1 month ago and the market today, and what competition they have and what's selling and what's not selling and how long it's taking and who's being successful and who's being not and why. We have to be really good at those conversations. You'll hear people talk about a skill-based market. You know, when the market shifts, skills run the day. The agents that are the most skilled are the ones that do the best. And then the third point I brought up was our mindset and how we react to it. Are we fearful? Are we concerned? Are we excited? Are we knowing that there's plenty of opportunities and we can't wait for those opportunities? You know, how do we react to what happens? And what are we doing to make sure that we are confident, that we are and have a good, strong mindset, that we have a great attitude all the time? And not to plug it, but that's really what the book Dominant Thoughts is about. So anyways, hopefully, Mary, that gives you some stuff to think about in terms of that question.
It does. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, in his book, Mindset, Chapter 7, number 1 says, mindset constitutes 90% of what it takes to be successful. Right? So being successful in real estate is about your mindset. Okay, Chris, so I have a question for you about teams. On a previous interview, you and I talked about teams being like the future is probably with real estate teams. So I see, and I hope you agree that we have that conversation, and you still agree with that. But my question is
was that like 10 years ago? Because that's when I started talking about that. But yes, I still agree with that. Teams, the whole industry is the changes in the industry are causing that to actually move in even at a faster pace.
Okay, good. So as it relates to that, I'm seeing mega teams collaborate, right, and form and create these bigger teams. I'm seeing partnerships. What would be your best advice on creating a sustainable partnership with team members? Because most teams just don't work out.
Yeah, there's a variety of reasons why they don't work out, but I'm not saying this can't be done because it has been done and some people have done it successfully, but having a business that keeps growing and as a result requires you to add people to help take care of that business and administer that business and handle that business, a team gets created by default versus we're going to create a team or a partnership and then go try to get this business or build this business. I like building the business first, and then as a result, the team grows. At the end of 1989, I hired my first assistant. It wasn't because I wanted to build a team. Teams didn't even exist. Like, it wasn't a concept, right? It wasn't even a thing. yeah, having assistants wasn't a thing. But it was obvious to me I couldn't do any more than I had done that year without someone helping me and taking on some of the tasks so I could be freed up to do more. And then that freed me up to do more. And then I needed someone to handle the buyer leads and show properties. And so I hired a showing assistant. And then, and as a result, a team grew. Now I didn't have a goal of building a team because I didn't even, again, that concept didn't exist back then. I just wanted to sell more homes and build a business. So I think the reasons why you do it are really important. Everything rises and falls on leadership. So you have to have the right leadership, and you have to be a great leader if you want to have a great business. And then you have to have super talented people that you're either partnering with or on your team. And the more talented they are, the bigger and better your business will be. And the less talented they are, the more challenges you'll have.
So what would you say is the best way to protect yourself when you enter a partnership?
You're asking someone who's not real big on partnerships. So for a lot of reasons, because it's just hard. It's hard to make them work and hard to find the right partner, hard to have it be equitable. But if that's what you want to do and that's what you're doing, then the best way to protect yourself is through making sure that you have a very thorough partnership agreement, and that the expectations and are clear and defined. Communication is at the highest level, and you have and you've identified how you exit that partnership and how that happens, and everything is spelled out.
It's almost like a marriage. I mean, it's almost like you need the prenup and you need to set all of the boundaries so that everybody's clear on the front end, and you need to take the time to date each other and then live with each other, and then instead of just, hey, let's get married and do this partnership, like you really, really need to know on the front end before you do any of those things.
You'll be a lot more successful getting a prenup done if you do it ahead of time.
Exactly.
I wouldn't know. Might know soon. Okay, so as it relates to that, is there a service out there because a lot of people are entering partnerships, they don't have the budget, for a big attorney, like what is it, LegalZoom, or are there any services out there nationally that you think would be a great place to start?
Yeah, look, I'm sure there's a lot of online services. I don't think you need, for the level of business that we're talking about, you don't need an expensive attorney, and you don't need a 70 or 170 page document, but you need to have things defined, all the financial pieces, responsibilities, buyout agreements, and and how things get dissolved if one person needs to leave the partnership, and those are the basics. And more important than any of that is you have to have the right partner, right? If it's not someone that you trust implicitly, it's not the right partner. If it's not someone that you like and respect, it's not the right partner. And if it's not truly a situation where 1 + 1 = 3, it's not the right partner. So you have to look at those things as much as you do what's written in the agreements.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So next up, we have BJ Larson. He's the only one that you have not spoken to yet. BJ is with Social Proof. He has a social media platform, and he is managing all my content all over all the platforms. You guys are going to be blasted. You guys can put me on mute if you want. If you're seeing too much of TBR, blame it on BJ.
That's a heck of an introduction. Thank you. It's a pleasure to meet you, by the way. Thank you for the opportunity, Tanya. But yeah, as Tanya said, I own a social media management platform that's also built with AI. So I think that's why Tanya found it fit to make the introduction. And a lot of what I've been seeing lately is the biggest hurdle I've been dealing with is getting agents to adopt social media and really just like take into it what it means to like the benefit of creating content, and kind of establishing yourself as the expert before your clients ever even get introduced to you, and kind of make that a little bit easier. So my question for you is, what are some of the ways that you and your teams are using social media, and what advice would you give to new agents that may not understand or understand the importance of implementing those steps?
Yeah, there might be some new agents that don't understand the importance. I think most agents in this day and age understand the importance of social media. I think the reason that a lot of them don't leverage it or leverage it at the level they could are a couple things. Number one, they overcomplicate what needs to be done, and so they get paralysis by analysis, right? They don't take action, or they aren't savvy enough with the technology to feel comfortable doing it. So they're either fearful of how to do it or don't know how to do it. Or there's another reason is a lot of them think that it has to be perfect. Another reason is a lot of them think that, or they don't know what to do. Like they know it's important to do, but they don't know what to do, and they don't know how to do it. And so there's all these reasons that they don't. The question, why do I think it's important, or
in what ways are you currently using it with your team, and more so in the organic portion of it? Because a lot of what I'm seeing with newer agents is they think that ads are the best way to go, which is definitely not a bad way to go, but it can get expensive if you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, I don't think. And most of them do it wrong.
Yes.
Look, I would give my team probably a C+ to a B- on their use of social media. And I think they could and will be doing a lot more. And personally, I think I leverage social media more than my real estate team does, from my career, my advising, consulting, those things. But and I said this earlier in response to another question, whatever you do, you have to be delivering things of value, right? And if it's not of value, people won't engage. People won't follow. People won't. If I put my agent hat on, people won't think of me as their resource if I'm not delivering things of value, right? So, and what's valuable? Things the information they can't easily get somewhere else. Whether it's about, like we said, a community or a street or a neighborhood or what's happening in the market, right? If they can Google that or find it on Zillow or somewhere else, then I'm not delivering something of value. But if I'm talking to them about negotiating tactics or how to take advantage in this market or how to get a great buy, and here are the things you do or need to do, or how to get your home sold when homes aren't selling around you, those can be things of value. So some agents do a great job of that. Others are more focused on just the tactical stuff of open house posts, or they're just listed posts, or they're just sold posts, and those type of things, which I don't view those of value, because a consumer can get that information anywhere.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I want to expand on this. DJ has twisted my arm to go onto TikTok, and I was like, I'm not sure if I should go on TikTok. And what do you know? Lo and behold, Chris Heller is on TikTok. So my question is what's your strategy over there, and what's working for you?
So, Tanya, your question was about TikTok, and I have not figured out TikTok. Here's I figured this out. It can be a tremendous time suck, and and addicting. So, which is not a big problem for me, because I can stay pretty focused. But I also know that it is a platform that has blown up, and there's a lot of eyeballs. So if you go to my account, the videos I'm posting are all videos mostly around mindset and success and leadership and those type of things. And some of them have really caught on, and others that are very, very similar have haven't. I don't know the ins and outs to know why that is. But whether it's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, the key is that we're posting things that people will find of value, and that we're doing it on a regular basis. And like anything else, that we're time blocking the time to do it, that we're planning it, that we're being strategic, that we're not just, winging it.
Well, I am going to pass this over to Chris Nolan.
All right, Chris, with the market shifting and everybody's real conscious on their budgets, what would be your best recommendation for where should be agents be focusing their lead sources on?
Really on any source that you are highly confident that you're going to get a positive ROI on. Sometimes we'll pay for lead sources because we get consistent leads, or we've gotten some good ones, but if you're not currently getting a positive return, you can't afford to do it in this market. Another thing I would be thinking about is success-based models. And Ojo is one of them. There's a dozen or more platforms out there where you can get leads and pay for them based on success versus upfront. And in this market, that's definitely something that you want to be looking at. And then I'd be looking at the most cost-effective leads that can be generated. And those are leads based on your efforts. Whether that's an effective social media campaign, or picking up the phone, or knocking on doors, going after expired listings, for sale by owners, probates, out-of-area owners. Earning that business is always going to be more cost-effective than buying business.
Last thing on that is any predictions you see in the market, where we're going and what you see coming?
I don't have a crystal ball any more than anyone else. There's generally two schools of thought that we hear about. There's a group of people that believe, by 2024, things will be better. And there's a group of people that believe 2024 won't be better. We'll find out. The important thing is not what happens in the market, because it doesn't matter what happens in the market. I'll take San Diego as an example. On a monthly basis, there's less than 1,000 homes selling in San Diego. I've seen it when there's been 7,000 homes selling in San Diego on a monthly basis. But even if there's, let's pick a number, 800 homes selling in San Diego County on a monthly basis, that is more than my team could handle.
Right.
As long as we're getting 20 or 30 of them, we have nothing to worry about. So on one hand, we want to be informed about what's going on in the market, because it does change some of our tactics, our conversations, the level of education we have to provide, the expectations we set. But on the other hand, no matter what's happening, there's more homes being listed and sold every day in every one of our markets than we could ever get our hands on. And the only thing that matters is, what are we doing to get our hands on enough of them? So I don't skirt your question completely. I don't think the market's going to be better in 2024.
No.
And 2023, what you see is what you're going to get. And 2024, it could be tougher.
What is your strategy when working with a seller? How do you have the conversations up front? And then how often do you meet with the sellers to talk about their price reduction if their home doesn't sell right away?
That conversation starts at the listing presentation. And it starts when you take the listing, right? That's an expectation you're setting that Mr. and Mrs. Seller, in the next 7 to 10 days, we're going to know if we pick the right price or not. And we're going to know that based on the level of activity and the feedback. If in 7 to 10 days, it looks like we're in the right price, we're getting good activity, good feedback, people back for second or third looks, great. If we're not, then we need to make an adjustment, and we need to do it quickly, because we don't want your home to get market worn or stale. Here's what happens to homes that sit on the market for 30, 60, 90 days. That's not what's going to help you achieve your goal. And so in that first 7 to 10 days, we're having that conversation and revisiting that conversation every 10 days to 2 weeks until it sells.
Love that. Thank you. The next question comes from Brittany Wynn.
So my biggest struggle right now is my morning routine. What are your biggest tips on being consistent?
There's typically two reasons why it's a challenge. One is that we haven't put the structures in place to ensure that happens. And then the second is that we haven't created the discipline or the habit to make it an actual routine. So by structures, I mean things like, let's say you said, gosh, I have a hard time getting up at the same time every day. Well, that can be fixed, right? You know, maybe you need 3 alarm clocks instead of 1. Maybe the alarm clock needs to be in the bathroom instead of next to the bed, right? There's a structure you could put in place to make sure that you are more likely to get up when you want to get up. Or it might be working out every morning. Like some days I'm just tired and I don't do it. Well, a lot of that is mindset. Now, it's much easier to have the right mindset and to develop the discipline to do it if you're not battling the fact that you are tired or exhausted, meaning, that you stayed up till midnight when you should have been going to bed at 10, right? So every morning starts the night before. So, making sure that you're not self-sabotaging yourself by just making it that much more difficult. But hey, I woke up this morning, and partly because it's been a long week, but I woke up, I'm tired. I did not want to work out, but that conversation, which probably felt like it went on for several minutes in my head, was probably like 10 seconds of like, all right, that's not an option. If you don't work out, the whole day you're going to be pissed. The whole day you're not going to feel good. And am I willing to experience that all day long? And the answer is no, right? So putting the structures in place and then developing, that strong mindset to where nothing is going to let you get off track. And that is, it's working on your attitude. It's much easier to have a strong mindset when you have a good attitude. What are the things that help you with a good attitude? It's probably, the people you spend time with, what you listen to, what you read, or vice versa. What's the things that hurt your attitude? Wasting too much time in TikTok or watching the news, or negative people that, take energy from you versus give energy to you. So, being really conscious of that, and then being really protective of what you put in and what you don't put in to help your, have the best possible attitude and mindset, which then makes it easier to have a stronger mindset. Again, not to, because frankly, I don't make any, you don't make any money when you write a book, but not for money.
I can attest to that. He doesn't.
But for
how do you know?
Yeah, my bookkeeper knows that. If you haven't, and if you have, I'd read it again. The Dominant Thoughts book, because that's what it talks about. It's all about developing that really strong mindset, not learning how to not listen to your wants or don't wants. Like, I want to sleep in today. I want to play today. I don't want to work today. I don't want to make these calls. Being able to recognize when that dialogue's happening and then change it and know what things you need to think about, that are much, much more important and stronger than your wants and don't wants.
Are you sure it's not what you said in your last interview with me? It's David Goggins, like, Tanya, you get your blankety blank up. Don't be a little blankety blank.
Yeah, there's that too. It's also knowing why you're doing what you're doing and having it be important enough that, you're going to do the things you need to do, especially on the days you don't want to or don't feel like it.
One last question. How was Kilimanjaro? You just hiked Kilimanjaro. Tell us about that really quick.
It was hard. It was really hard. I knew it would be hard and challenging, but it was super challenging.
What was it? Altitude? Was it fuel? What was it?
It was altitude. I mean, the group we were with, they were really, really good, really experienced. They made ensured that no one didn't have enough fuel and wasn't, adequately hydrated. But yeah, the altitude and there's a mental aspect to it too, of 8 days of long hiking and sleeping in tents and being cold but yeah, the altitude makes it really challenging. It takes way more effort the higher you go.
So you're saying it might be a one and done?
For me, yeah, I don't have the need to go do it again. It would either take a lot of money or maybe one of my kids wanting to do it so bad, and the only way they could do it is if I did it with them. But beyond that, no thanks.
That was my Ironman. I would never do it again because you never have to. Now you can go get the tattoo that you hiked Kilimanjaro.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, thank you so much for being on, and all of you guys, thank you guys so much. You are just filled with a ton of wisdom. I love your servant heart, and hopefully, you guys can take this back to your teams.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
My pleasure.